portaging canoe is a pretty straightforward process. First, make sure you've got good footing, and then instead of using your back, you want to be using your leg muscles, just like lifting any heavy object. Make a table out of your thighs, bring the canoe right up, reach for the far gunwale, and then one smooth movement, turn and bring it up on your shoulders. Wow, nice. It's real nice when you work for it. These icebergs came from a tidewater glacier at the end of this fjord. These are little guys compared to what lies ahead. Hi, I'm John Veman. Join me in Alaska. This week, we're sea kayaking in Harriman Fjord as we make our own adventures on Trailside. This is the kind of snow most skiers dream about. No lift lines and plenty of fresh powder. You break your own trail. Hi, I'm John Veman in Colorado's San Juan Mountains. Join me as we ski hut to hut at 11,000 feet on Trailside. This old mining town of Telluride sits in a box canyon, walled in on three sides by mountains. Some of the steepest downhill skiing in the country lies just over there. But I like to ski in places more remote, and fortunately I found just that. A few miles outside of town is some top-notch backcountry skiing, away from the resort atmosphere and the solitude of the mountains.
What do you think about skiing off the top of Lizard?
Normally if you're taking a backcountry trip, you have to lug tents and stoves, pots and pans, bedrolls and bags. But when you ski hut to hut, you bring only the basics, food and clothing. The hut provides everything else. Our home for tonight is about 5 miles up into those mountains. You know, before you head out, it's a good idea to check in with local residents to see about snow conditions and avalanche danger. Most huts are managed by an organization or an outfitter. And the San Juan hut system was started in the early 80s by two local guys, Mike Turin and Joe Ryan. Hi, Joe.
Hey, John. Good to see you.
Good to see you. You know, Joe, you could have started a hut system anywhere. Why did you start one down here in the Rockies?
Well, we've been skiing and climbing up in the Canadian huts, and we liked what we saw up there, so we thought we'd come down here and try to set up something similar to what those folks had up there.
And this is your system here on the map?
Yeah, it is. It's about 45 miles long. Starts near the town of Ouray. Contours around the Snuffles Range down here in the San Juans. Picking up our huts as we go. It's about 45 miles, I'd say, 5 huts. And this is the hut you're going to be going to, the last hour hut. Your trailhead will be down here. You start skiing up, past some homesteads. It's about 4 miles, I'd say, and get up to the top of the pass here, and then work your way on up the ridge to the hut.
Well, that looks like it's going to be gorgeous. Thanks, Joe.
Sure, John.
Well, Mike, we're at, what, 8,700 feet here in Telluride, and we're going to have some altitude gain, right?
Yeah, the hut sits at 11,000 feet, John. So you'll have a 2,200 climb up to the hut. We've got some excellent terrain up above the hut that goes clear up to 12,600.
Oh, sounds like it was a good idea for us to come in a day early and
Yeah,
get
it is.
acclimated.
Yeah.
These are some pictures?
Yeah, we got some photos of some of the terrain up there. That.
So you've checked the local snow conditions. What do you find?
Yeah, I
up
was
there?
just up there 2 days ago with a group, and it hadn't snowed in like 2 weeks, so the snowpack's real consolidated, and we had a great time. Really fun.
Super. Anything else we need to know before we head up?
Yeah, we've got a packet of information here for you, John, that we give to everybody. So it basically tells how the hut works, and you read over that, and here's a key to get in, and have a good trip, and we'll see you when you get back.
Thanks, Mike.
Take care.
This is the trailhead, where you say goodbye to cars, computers, and cable TV. We'll be skiing today with Brian Litz, author of Colorado Hut to Hut. And later on, we're going to meet up with a top ski instructor to go over a little bit of my telemarking technique. Hey, Brian.
Hey, John.
Hey, Brian, you've skied this system before. What do you find unique about it?
Well, what I really like about it, aside from the beauty of the area, is that it's a kind of an eclectic hut system and has rustic huts. It's also, I think, more of an advanced hut system in that many of the trails are not marked. So you need to understand basic navigation, route finding, map and compass. And I think it's also important to understand basic avalanche safety.
Brian, this old foundation looks like something that's right out of the mining days.
Well, it is. This homestead dates back to the boom days of Telluride in the late 1800s. Subsistence farmers, they lived here and they sold their eggs and milk down to the hungry miners in town.
Huh, so are we on some kind of an old trail here?
Well, Last Dollar Road that we've been following, that was the old pony trail that the farmers used to carry their produce down to town.
Boy, I bet this would be great to come back here on a mountain bike in the summer, wouldn't it?
Now, these meadows are just covered with wildflowers, and you can mountain bike up past Last Dollar Hut and keep going through the San Juan Hut System mountain biking route all the way out to Moab, Utah.
Well, I'm gonna have to come back here in summer. Well, I'm feeling a little winded, Brian. How do you deal with altitude?
Well, luckily I spent enough time at altitude that my body is basically used to it.
Yeah?
Realistically, it takes a person 2 to 3 weeks to fully acclimatize. But what I think is helpful for people in groups who are skiing hut to hut is to just set a pace that's appropriate for the group. And a way you can do that is to have perhaps one of the slower people set pace. And take lots of breaks, drink water, and most importantly, just remember that this isn't a race. We're supposed to be having fun.
That's right. Now, altitude sickness, how much of a concern is that?
Well, almost everybody that comes up to altitude is gonna feel some altitude sickness. Rarely is it fatal, but typical symptoms are people complain of loss of appetite, headaches, and nausea, and just general tiredness.
Okay. What do you think? We should take a break up there in that clump of trees?
Sure.
Some of the graffiti on these trees is pretty old, Brian.
Yeah, it is. Around here they call it aspen art. For many of the cowboys and ranchers who work in this area, it was the only way they could communicate with each other. Oh, look, here's one of my favorites, Taking Horses Home.
I wonder if they ever got the message. Well, these aspens really make for a nice windbreak.
Yeah, this is pretty typical San Juan weather, too. It's hot 1 minute, then it's snowing, and now it's just kind of windy and cold. And, of course, my mountain parka is at the bottom of my pack, or it's the least convenient.
Yeah, I usually keep mine right up on top so I can get at it. Well, the trees really almost look like birch.
These aspen trees are a successional tree species that repopulate areas that have been disturbed by fires and avalanches and mining.
So they really are just like the birch trees out east.
Getting a bit of a chill?
Well, not too bad, but figured before I do get one, I wanted to put on my jacket. We're going to be here a while.
I'll tell you what, if you want to tear some bread off, I'll slice the cheese.
Okay. All right.
How are your feet?
Well, they're actually doing pretty well. You know, these boots aren't that old, so I thought they'd be a little tough breaking in and I'd have a few hot spots, but so far they're pretty good.
Let me know if you feel any blisters for me, because I got a blister kit in the top flap of my pack.
Okay. You know, comfort really is a matter of having the right gear. And before we came up here, I made an important stop in town. Hey, Mark.
How you doing, John?
Good. Good to see you. Now, this ski looks familiar. Looks like a track ski to me.
Yeah, it's a classic track ski. Normally put some wax right here in the kick pocket. Real lightweight setup. It'd be good for being on a prepared track in.
Mm-hmm.
Lightweight boot and binding setup, too.
Probably not what we need, though. We probably need something a little beefier like this one.
Yeah, this is a little more what you want to use in the backcountry. It has metal edges, some side cut to it to help you turn, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a waxless base, so you don't have to worry about waxing it.
Okay. And a 3-pin binding there?
Yeah, put the leather Telemark boot in there.
Mm-hmm. Now that's a much beefier boot. And that's insulated too, right?
Yeah, it's going to give you a lot more support, and it will be quite a bit warmer, too.
Mm-hmm. Now this ski here almost looks like an alpine ski.
Yeah, it's a lot wider. It is actually an alpine ski, a detuned slalom.
Mm-hmm.
Really soft flexing. And it's been real popular out here, especially in variable snow conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you a lot more surface area and a bigger platform to stand on.
Now that binding system, that thing looks ancient. That's almost like something my father would use.
Yeah, it's a pretty old system, but it's been real reliable.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cable binding with this spring mechanism around the heel. Helps hold you in. It's also really easy to get in and out of.
Mm-hmm. Now these are our ski poles back here?
Yeah, we like to use these adjustable poles.
Mm-hmm.
Really good for touring on the flats in. You can extend them out. It's a lot more comfortable for getting up stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to the top, you can collapse them down to your alpine pole length and ski them like that.
Now you've told us a lot about getting downhill. How do we get up these hills?
Okay. Some people used to use kick wax, but we prefer to use climbing skins.
Mm-hmm.
This is a synthetic skin right here, and you can tell by rubbing your hand here. It's really smooth going this way and gives you a lot of grip on the uphill.
Oh yeah, that'll be real effective. You know, Brian, this chute's not on the map, and I don't see any trees out there. This looks to me like it might be an avalanche hazard. What do you think?
Well, occasionally the maps don't exactly match what's out there in reality. It does look as if the trail is crossing the lower runout zone of an avalanche slope.
So what other things should we be looking for to determine avalanche hazards?
Well, the most important thing to keep in mind is that most skiers serve as the trigger for the slides they get caught in.
Mm-hmm.
And in making an assessment, the first thing we need to look at is terrain.
Yep.
And just, as you pointed out, there's no trees out there, and they serve as anchors to hold the snowpack in place. So this is probably slid in the past, and it's probably going to slide again.
Mm-hmm.
What's really critical is the angle of the slope. And I got a little slope meter here. And I'm just going to take a quick measurement of the slope. Let's see what it is.
And just looking at it, I'd say what, about 45, 50 degrees? What do you get?
Let's see, we are at roughly, it's only about 21, 22 degrees, which is good because most deadly avalanches run between 30 and 45 degrees. And so we're on the safe side of that. So I feel comfortable in making a crossing of this slope.
Okay, well, what about the snow we've been getting? How much of a factor is that?
Well, we haven't got that much fresh snow, and there hasn't been a lot of wind.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel comfortable with that. And I haven't seen too many signs of recent activity as we've been on the trail. Also, what I like to do is think of the snowpack as a layer cake.
Mm-hmm.
I can just do a quick ski pole test, and I just thrust the pole down through the snowpack and feel for any weak layers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of resistance there. That's a pretty solid snowpack. So again, I feel comfortable making this crossing rather than dropping down below the runout zone. But if we are going to cross, let's just do it safely.
Okay. Well, even though we figured this to be a pretty safe shoot, we should still go across one at a time, don't you think?
Definitely. And before I go across, I want to double check to make sure your avalanche transceiver
Good
is
idea.
still transmitting.
Turned on. You getting anything?
Yeah, I'm getting a real strong signal.
Okay.
Now, what I'm going to do is make a gentle diagonaling traverse across. And when I get to the trees, I'm going to turn around and give you a high sign.
Okay.
And watch me as I go across. If I should happen to get caught in a slide, remember to turn your transceiver on to receive. Okay?
That way I'll be able to find you.
All right, John. See you on the other side.
Go for it.
Okay.
Well, I know that was safe, Brian, but it still felt creepy. What do you do if you're caught in an avalanche?
It's pretty difficult to fight the power of an avalanche, but if you do get caught in one, the first thing you should do is use a swimming motion
Yeah.
to keep your head above the moving snow.
Yeah.
And as you feel the avalanche start to slow down, try and fill your lungs with air and then use your hands to form a pocket in front of your mouth. And the bottom line is, still you gotta use common sense and be aware of your surroundings.
So how much farther do we have to go to get to the hut?
Only about 10 minutes. Here we are, John. Hope you got the key.
Hey, I wouldn't think of leaving Telluride without it. This is going to be so cozy in here. There's some wood out back so we can make a nice toasty fire. Whoa, look at all this space. Check out that stove, Brian. That's got to be an antique.
Yeah, it's a real old timer from Illinois. Used to burn coal.
Yeah, it looks like it's nickel plated. Nice detail. Bet it really cranks out some heat too.
Yeah, I'll tell you, speaking of heat, I'm gonna grab a bunk up top.
Okay, I think I'll take this one. It's got this nice propane light here. I can do some reading later on tonight. Boy, this is a really solid hut. How do you think they got it up here?
Well, if you can believe it, those San Juan hut guys hauled this thing up here plank by plank.
Amazing. Look at this. They got a nice kitchen area.
Yeah, it's got everything we need.
3-burner stove. I got enough food here to feed an army, I bet.
We could have carried our own food up, but it's a lot more convenient to use the food that's here and sure makes our packs a lot lighter.
Yeah. Well, what would you like to do about dinner? There's a lot here.
Well, tell you, a big pot of spaghetti sounds good to me. In fact, I'm going to grab this pan. I'll go out and get some snow to melt some water if you'd like to get a fire going.
Okay. Well, I grew up around wood stoves. I should know my way around them by now. Well, the reason we came up here was to do some skiing. And I had a chance to get some tips from Mindy Bell, a former member of the U.S. Telemark team who runs the Telemark program at Snowmass. That's Mindy. Looks like I've got a lot to learn. You make it look easy, Mindy. Can anybody get into backcountry skiing?
Oh, sure. This is for everybody. But there's a lot of variable terrain up here. So if your skiing skills aren't real strong, you should take a guide out the first couple of times.
Okay, well, looks like we're going to find out how my skills are in just a minute, huh? Let's
Yeah.
go.
All right, let's go. I'm going to do a couple of Telemark turns and show you what it's all about.
Well, Mindy, where did the Telemark turn come from?
Well, the Telemark turn came from Norway. It's actually the oldest turn. It was originally done in the town of Telemark to land a jump.
Yeah.
And it's a real nice, solid three-point landing. But the Telemark is really coming back in popularity right now in the mountains. John, this chute looks like it'd be a really nice place to make some beginning Telemark turns. Would you like to try a couple?
Sure, let's go for it.
All right, let me talk you through it. I'm going to start off in a wedge. Steer both of your tips together, and then add pressure to your left ski, steer it around, let it lead, stand up in between your turns, back into a wedge, add pressure to your right ski, let your right ski lead, stand back up. Okay, John, you try it. Wedge, steer both skis around. Oh, good try, John. Good try.
All right, let me try it again.
Try it again. The weather conditions are changing really fast.
Yeah.
You know, this looks like a nice slope to do some turns on. Would you like to try a couple?
Sure, let's go for it.
All right. Woo! All right, your turn.
Whatever you say, I'll give it a try. Oh.
Oh, John, that
Not
was
quite.
that was a nice turn. That was a good start. I want to change a couple of things. If you feel a little bit of tension right in here in your muscles,
Yep.
that means that you're leaning too far back. So I'd like for you to flex your ankles forward,
Okay.
get a little bit better angle here on your front foot,
Okay.
and press your knees together while you're turning so you're creating better angles down here.
Okay.
Okay? Pretend like you're squeezing an orange in between your knees.
Okay.
You're going to make orange juice on every turn.
All right.
Let me see you try it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Oh, those are some nice turns, John. I think you've got a lot of potential.
Well, it's easy when you have the right instruction.
I think all we need now is to put on a bunch of miles, okay?
You bet. Hey, thanks a lot. I really appreciate your coming out, Mindy.
Thank you.
So tomorrow night we'll be at the North Pole Hut, Brian. What kind of a trip is that going to be getting up there?
It sits over on the north side of the range, and it's going to be a bear of a day skiing over there. It's about 8 miles away, and we have considerable elevation gain and loss en route. Plus, we have to cross quite a few potential avalanche slide paths. But the skiing is going to be great. There's some excellent Telemark skiing and some classic trail skiing through Engelmann spruce forests.
Oh, great. Well, it sounds like we ought to load up on carbos tonight and plan to get up pretty early in the morning.
Yep, we're going to be getting what's called an alpine start.
Brian, you must have slept well last night. You've got a serious case of hat hair this morning.
Well, I hope you like it. It's my signature backcountry look.
What a day. Look how clear it is.
Yeah, you can see the Wilson Mountains, 14,000 feet, and Lizard Head Peak out south across the San Miguel River.
Yeah, what a view. The great thing about hut skiing is that you wake up right in the mountains, step out the door, and put on your skis. Well, we've had a good night's sleep. We've left the hut the way we found it. And we're ready for a challenging day in the backcountry. See you next time on Trailside.
Hey John, you're starting to learn something. You got your ski tips pointed in the right direction today.
Hey, Brian, I stick with you. I'm going to really get the hang of this backcountry business.
Well, once we get up on this ridge, we're going to be able to see the Abajo and La Salle Mountains out in Utah, about 100 miles away.
Whoa, that'll be great. You ready to go?
Yep. After you.
Okay. Let's shred, huh?
Yeah, the prevailing southwest winds here in the San Juans kick snow up over this ridge and form these cornices.
Was it dangerous to be out on the edge like this, Brian?
Well, we've had a fair amount of sun and yeah, we're okay.
Boy, they're really dramatic, aren't they?
Yeah. John, this is just too good to pass up.
No, I don't know, Brian. That's a little more than I can handle just yet, but I'll take that chicken route and see you at the bottom, all right?
All right, see you there.
Funding for Trailside is made possible in part by Chevy Trucks, who reminds you that it's possible to have fun outdoors and still leave Mother Nature with a smile on her face, too. And LL Bean, providing sporting gear and apparel for people who love the outdoors for over 80 years. And High Tech Sports, who invite you to enjoy the great outdoors and follow the trail to adventure.
Guys, we're about ready to come in and block this thing out and do it.
Wouldn't mind doing one more.
You wouldn't mind doing another one?
Do the wild sound right now.
Do this wild track right here and
Rolling.
Want me to be walking?
52, take 2.
All speed. B. Quiet, please. And action.
And somebody else can ride with him too. I'll drive with Cameron.
Can we get this stuff over on this side? Let's get rolling, man. Come on, we gotta shoot.
Camera equipment up there first
Yeah.
for the setup,
Okay.
and then bring personal gear up later.
So next.
Okay, John, up this way, please.
This is the trailhead.
This is the trailhead. You say goodbye to cars, computers, and cable TV. Okay.
This is the trailhead where you say goodbye to cars, computers, and cable TV. We're going to be skiing with Brian Lake out of Colorado Hut to Hut.
Action.
Aspens really provide a nice windbreak, don't they?
Yeah, well, this is pretty typical San Juan weather. Snowing 1 minute and hot.
Action!
Brian, you must have slept well last night. You've got a serious case of hat hair this morning.
Well, I hope you like it.
Backcountry huts are really a great idea and open up an incredible place in the wintertime. There are a number of systems throughout the Rockies. The San Juan Mountains and the San Juan hut systems are an incredible experience unto themselves. On average, you're going to be dealing with 13,000 feet elevation, and it's easily reached in a day trip. We use sleds to lug most of our extra camera gear up those mountains. And I'll never forget life in a hut that's 16 foot square with over a dozen people inside.
Need a real pack, so
That works out to be something like 1.5 square feet per person. You know, kind of like when you breathe in, someone else has to breathe out. Fortunately, you won't have to invite a film crew along on your hut trip.
Oh, sure. This is for everybody.
Probably more than skiing, I learned how to enjoy the wide open spaces of the San Juan Mountains elsewhere than in a hut. So, Mindy, where did the Telemark turn come from?
The Telemark turn came from Norway.
Okay, action!
The most difficult part of shooting this Trailside episode had to be the weather. Snowstorms came and went throughout the day. Sometimes they'd even hang in for the whole day, so that most of our shooting couldn't be used. We came up on some innovative ways, though, to keep a film crew warm and enthusiastic. Nice! In the middle of a snowstorm. Real nice.
Cut!
Here goes. Adjusting to altitude was more of a challenge for some of the crew than for others. Working at high altitudes, you just have to get comfortable working at a little bit slower pace. And after a few days, I barely noticed a difference, even though I live close to sea level. Whoa!
Oh, nice turn, nice turn. That's a really good try. Nice. There you go, wedge.
Telemark skiing technique can't really be mastered in one lesson.
Good try, John.
Well, we almost got it. But it's definitely easier to learn on packed snow as opposed to the crusty powder we had during the show.
Both skis around. Oh, good try, John. Good try.
All right, let me try it again.
Let's try it again. One more turn.
Go, go, go.
Into a wedge.
Left, left, go left.
Right ski.
Got it.
Right.
Nice. It's real nice when you work for it. Best way to stay warm in winter is to dress in layers. That way you can adjust your clothing to your activity level. Now the more layers, the more flexibility you'll have. Now the layer that's right next to your body is called the wicking layer. And here you want a fabric that will take moisture away from your skin. There are a lot of fabrics designed especially for this. What I like to use is a silk liner with a polypro outer shirt. Yeah, I try to avoid cotton next to my skin because it holds on to moisture and has no insulating value when wet. Now the next layer is called the insulating layer. Here I like to use a pile fabric because it's warm, it's light, and it dries quickly. The key really is to have one with enough loft that will trap air where your body can warm it up. Now the outer layer is a hooded shell, one made of a windproof, breathable fabric. And if you get hot easily, one with zippers under the armpits is a great idea. Something often overlooked in winter is the sun. And for that, you need a good sunscreen. One rated to at least 15, and really glop it on because most people don't use enough. Now, since it's going to be getting plenty cold around camp at night, I like to make sure I've got one of the heaviest parkas I can find, a pair of super insulated boots, and a pair of extra felt liners. Because the key to winter camping is keeping your feet dry at all times. Since I'm going to be using hiking boots during the day, I want to make sure I got a pair of gaiters to keep snow out of them.
You'll notice that the blades here are offset.
Yep.
And the reason for that is so that when you go to take a stroke, the blade that's in the air slices through the air so you don't get any wind resistance.
Okay.
Then when you hold the paddle, you want to keep your hands about shoulder distance apart.
Yep.
And your right hand is your fixed hand. It's actually glued to the paddle.
Okay.
Your knuckles here are in line with the blade, and your left hand remains nice and loose on the paddle.
Okay.
So when you go to take a stroke, keep your arms nice and straight. Paddle on the right side.
Okay.
Now I'm going to twist my right hand back
Yep.
and take a stroke on the left side.
All right.
Now, two of the key factors in terms of feeling really good by the end of the day
Okay.
and paddling efficiently is to really rotate at the waist.
All right.
By using these bigger muscles that are in your stomach and your back
Sure.
instead of your arms, you'll
Okay.
have a much more efficient stroke. The other thing is to remember to push forward with this top arm
Yeah.
instead of
Okay.
pulling with the bottom arm. So if you do that, you'll feel really great at the end of the day.
This is a designated campsite in the Boundary Waters. You can identify one by the fixed fire grate and the box latrine up in the woods.
Here's some more firewood and some birch bark, too.
Thanks. Hey, what took you so long?
Oh, I like going back into the woods for my firewood. I hate campers who strip a campsite of its dead vegetation. I think it's bad ethics.
I agree.
So do you remember what to do in case your roll doesn't work?
Yeah, feet up and downstream and then keep upstream of the boat, right?
That's right. Try to hold onto your paddle also.
Yep.
And don't stand up in the current.
Okay.
I'm looking for a little side-to-side wobble in the rim. So if I hold the brake pad up close and use it as a gauge, you can see how, for instance, the rim's rubbing right here. So to pull it over to the other side, I want to tighten the spokes on that side and loosen them on the one close to me here.
This is a footprint of the largest land mammal in North America. Join us this week on Trailside as we go hiking in Alaska's grizzly country.